Hello again, welcome back to the channel. Always good to see you here. Now, I've been gallivanting all around the place for the last number of weeks, and for that reason I haven't done a lot of videos. And you might remember my last video, I was over there in New Zealand and came back with a heap of amazing images. But a bit before that trip, probably a month before that trip, I went up to Sea Lake, which is a town in the middle of nowhere here in the state of Victoria in Australia, but it's got this beautiful lake, and it's a very shallow lake called Lake Tyrrell. A lot of people go there to shoot photography, and of course people go there to shoot nightscape photography. Now, I had been there before, and you may remember, I think it was last year, I was up there with some other photography friends of mine, John Rutter and Bailey Farley, these guys. I met them up there, and it was great just to catch up with them and spend a bit of time there under the stars. Well, I decided to do the same thing again this year, met up with some other photographers up there. Now, I made a couple of crucial errors, which I'll explain in a moment. But one of the things that I really wanted to shoot up at Sea Lake was the beautiful painted silos. And as you drive into Sea Lake, you can't miss them on the side of the road. They're just absolutely spectacular. And there are a lot of these painted silos around the region here in Victoria. So to be honest with you, that was probably my number one thing that I wanted to shoot. And that has nothing to do with the lake. It's not even at the lake. But anyway, we decided we would go and have a look around the district and so forth. So my aim initially was to do a panorama, because these silos are quite wide and it requires a fair bit of width. So you either have the choice of shooting with an ultra wide angle lens, or you shoot with a less wide angle lens and just do more images. And that's what I decided to do in the end. My initial thought about that was to do a blue hour blend. So where I would shoot some images before daylight was totally finished to shoot my foreground, and then after dark to shoot a panorama of the Milky Way stretching across in the sky, in the western sky, which it does beautifully over the top of the silos. I did do that, but I also came back the next night and shot there in complete darkness, but it was a cloudy sky that night. So I was tossing and turning which one to include, because the image that was shot at night time, I think I liked that more than the one that was shot in the twilight. And so anyway, I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. So while we were there, of course, we decided to go out to the lake and have a look there. Now, I tell you what, number one mistake, and I'll advise all of you people listening to this video, never, ever, ever go to Lake Tyrrell on a weekend, especially a long weekend. There were thousands of people there, and I kid you not, it was hard to get a car park around the visitors area at the lake. And we went to see the bus. Now, you remember last year when I was with John Rutter up there, we took photos of the bus. It's this old bus that's been there since the old Mallee Rally racing track days of the lake. And so we went back there, and I kid you not, there were people everywhere. We had to actually almost like take tickets to get our turn to shoot the bus. They were everywhere. There was people camping in cars. There was people wandering around with boom boxes. There were people driving cars and headlights in every probably 10 or 15 minutes. It was an absolute disaster. I'll tell you now, if I wasn't there with another group of people and we were sort of discussing things and chatting and talking amongst ourselves, I probably would have just gone home straight away. I cannot stand crowds like that. Anyway, we stuck it out, and we eventually got our turn to shoot the bus. Now, I wasn't all that particularly keen to go to a lot of trouble with the bus, because I did that last year when I was up there with John. But I did shoot the bus, and it's quite interesting because we were trying a few different things, and because there was about 6 of us lined up around the bus, it's quite difficult to get the angle you want when you sort of haven't got much room to move. So we were so close to each other, but it was really good because I enjoyed spending time with these friends of mine, and some of them hadn't been ever to the lake, and so it was really good just to show them some of the things, and we worked out our settings, we worked out how we were going to light the bus. And it's interesting because when you spend time with other photographers, you realize that everybody does things just that little bit differently. And so we shot the bus, and we were pretty happy with the results of that, and different people had different angles. They got around the other side. But I'll show you the image I took of the bus and just see what you think about that one. So this image is different to what I did last year. I didn't do the multiple foreground light painted shots. And I think because of that, the image last year had much better quality. But even so, this one's not too bad. So anyway, back to the silos, because the silos are what I went there to shoot. And look, we had an absolutely fantastic time just spending time there under the stars and even under a cloudy sky. It was quite moody, but it was cloudy, shooting. And strangely enough, the silos are in town, so they're not at the lake, they're in town, but there was nobody else there. So I don't know how come there were thousands of people out at the lake and nobody at the silos. I tear my hair out, I really do. I don't understand people's logic. But anyway, so we ended up taking pictures at the silos. We also spent some time out at the lake. And again, this is well after midnight and there's still people wandering around there in the dark. I don't really think they had any idea what they were doing, some of these people, because they had headlights on and they had torches, and some of them didn't even have cameras. I don't know why they were there. But we took, we took a few shots just walking around in the very shallow water. There wasn't a lot of water there because it hadn't rained for long. And that was okay. That was just single exposures, nothing exotic about those. But I'll show you those now, and I'll also show you my final end result of the silo panorama. So there you go, that's my little trip out to Sea Lake and the silo art in the township. And Lake Tyrrell, well, it is an absolutely beautiful place to visit, great for photography, but do not, I repeat, do not go on a long weekend, or even a weekend. If I'm going back there, I'm going there in the middle of the week, probably after midnight, because at least then there'll probably be less people camping out at the lake. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this little video, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, have a fantastic week. See you later.